So one of the questions we get asked a lot in our sales process is, what ABM program type should we start with? A lot of the time the clients come to us and they say, we have this account, really high value account that we know should be working with us, we believe should be working with us. And therefore we want to go into run an ABM pilot with a one-to-one program. And our advice to those clients is that that's a very high risk strategy to start your ABM pilot with. And the reasons it's high risk is that unless you have some kind of existing relationship with that account or some high quality insight that says that there is a known opportunity in that account, that you have a high chance of winning it because you have those existing relationships, you've got credibility, trust with that account, or it's an existing customer where there's maybe additional cost centers that you can grow into and you've already done some good work in another region, then starting with a one-to-one program is really a very high risk strategy, because the time and effort and the cost and the potential ROI is probably quite low unless you have those existing relationships with that account, or you've been invited to tender for an RFP, for example. So we always recommend to our clients that they start with a blended approach. If it's their first attempt at ABM, where they're starting to migrate their go-to-market strategy from a lead-based, persona-based campaign into an account-focused, account-centric campaign type, then we always recommend a blended ABM program where we combine the personalization of a one-to-few with that always-on air coverage of a one-to-many program. And the benefit of that is that you're de-risking the pilot. You can use those two program types working very closely together to give you that air coverage. So you may have a scenario where you have 1,000 target accounts, all of which have been validated against your ideal customer profile. Some of those 1,000 accounts will be in an active buying journey, typically no more than 2.5% to 5% of them. The rest will probably not even be aware of your brand. So the benefit of combining one-to-many with one-to-few is that you get that awareness, opportunity to build awareness and trust and credibility with those accounts that aren't active, the ones that aren't aware of your brand yet, that aren't showing any level of intent. Run some great messaging, get your subject matter experts to produce some very light touch content into those accounts, campaign it into those accounts with the objective of engaging them. Maybe it will trigger an active buying journey, whilst you prioritize the 2.5% of accounts that are showing high levels of intent around the product or service that you're trying to sell, and prioritize those accounts for a more outbound approach, using higher value creative so that you can cut through the noise, because the marketplace is very, very noisy at the moment. Compete for the attention of those senior buyers, and do a deeper level of insights, produce personalized value propositions for each of those accounts so that you have a higher chance of starting meaningful conversations with those accounts that are showing high levels of intent. So we always recommend starting with a blended ABM program as your pilot for an account-based marketing activity versus the very high-risk strategy of starting with one-to-one.